Welcome into the Gaming Discourse. I'm Tyler Frater alongside Richard A. the Cruz and Chief Engineer, Lieutenant Commander Connor Frater.
We gotta stop doing that. If we're gonna do that, we need to make an ASMR section of our Patreon just for that part
of the videos. If Tyler's all right with it.
Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at the Gaming Discourse. Go to our YouTube channel, YouTube/Gaming Discourse. Patreon.com/The Gaming Discourse, where you can subscribe and get benefits like early access and access to our Discord server. In your name in the credits, a new video out today for all patrons. We are early access to videos. I forget where it was at. It was at like the $7, I think, or maybe $4. But we've extended that to all patrons. So if you pay us $2 right now, you can actually, if you subscribe to the channel, you can see it, and then you can unsubscribe and not pay anything because of the way it's set up. That's fine though, because it's like a free trial, right? And Amazon Prime does it. We should do it too.
Why not?
But for the next few days, it'll be up for patrons. It's a review of Bone Lab.
Are we also going to start sponsoring an extra game of football each week?
That'd be awesome.
I don't think
we have the capital. But I don't know what we can tell the NFL. I've got a Giants coaster and I don't know, an old Phoenix Comic Con 2019 poster. Is that good enough for a game a week, Mr. NFL? Anyway,
Mr. John H. NFL.
Mr. John H. NFL. My grandfather was an NFL. His grandfather was an NFL. And by gum, sorry, I'm just doing Eric Andre now. Okay, so go to patreon.com/gaming discourse. Check out the Bone Lab review. Ended up giving Bone Lab a B, and I talk about more about it in the video.
Bone Lab.
B for Bone Lab. Richard's laughing a little too hard on that joke. Take our grades seriously, Richard.
I really wanted you to say B for boner. That's how good that game is.
I'm just going to let that, you know what? I was going to say I was just going to let that hang, but that would just make the situation even worse. So I'm just going to let that...
Yeah, it's a stiff situation right there.
Go away. You could say sticky. I don't know, there's tons of puns.
Can't run away.
We have news. Herman Hulst made some news talking with Axios, not really. The head of Xbox Worldwide. No.
Xbox.
Thank you. No, not Xbox. Head of PlayStation.
We'll have a PlayStation.
PlayStation.
There we go. And we're talking meta too. We need to get a meta one in there, but it needs to be Mark Zuckerberg saying something. No, it needs to be
I like a...
That could be Mark Zuckerberg, sure.
Da cha-cha.
No, what we need when we talk about Mark Zuckerberg is we need one of Data's, I'm an Android. That's what we need. That's what we need for Mark Zuckerberg.
Hopefully we don't talk about Mark Zuckerberg enough.
I'm going to talk about him just so we can have Brent Spiner say, I'm an Android. Anyway, so what have we been playing? Who wants to kick us off?
A whole lot of nothing.
So, Connor, you've been playing nothing?
No.
Not even Europa Universalis?
Nope.
You're not marrying off kids to other kids?
Not be Crusader Kings, and no.
Well, I mean, you could do it in Universalis.
Not really.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry, Connor.
I tried to get into a little more Bone Lab. I couldn't. Some things were going on, so I already explained to you I was trying to. So when you go back into, we talked about the hub that you kind of get access to, and you can go to different things and do different, like a sandbox area and a tactical range and stuff like that. When you come back out of there, there's a puzzle that you have to solve, somewhat of a puzzle that you have to solve in order to open up some elevators or some doors. And then that unlocks the story mode, like the actual story that you'll go through. And I was trying to do that, but I I'm an idiot and I couldn't figure it out. Because you got to get these they look like big bulbs and they're glowing. Sure, and I figured they were batteries. I don't know. There's a light coming out of there. So I was like trying to grab them, and you die if you grab them. So I was just like, I'm done. No, I had other stuff to do, so I had to stop playing. So I didn't get back to that. But beyond Bone Lab, I've been playing Overwatch 2 most of the week. I have been getting in. Of course, I am sure everybody has already seen all the articles about it and how bad the launch is. And it's fine for the most part. I've been playing A-OK the last couple days, but I have been playing the first couple days as well. And it's still, I don't want to say it's still Overwatch. They've changed a lot of things. A lot of characters' kits are different enough to make them very weird to play now. For instance, like Bastion now moves when he's in his tank mode and shoots. Like he doesn't just stay stationary. His ultimate is different. His ultimate is a mortar now that
So why would you, if you could move while you're in the tank, Why would you not move? Why would you move as Robot Bastion if you could be a tank and move?
Probably slower.
So when you're Robot Bastion walking around, his the shooting speed is slower. He doesn't shoot as fast as the tank mode. But I haven't like played him. It's just stuff I've seen visually. Orisa's different. She no longer has a shield. But she like spins her javelin. She has a javelin now. She spins a javelin and it blocks all incoming damage, and she can walk around with it too. She has her fortify, and then she has once again a javelin that she can toss at you. And it's very annoying because it stops anything. Like whatever you're doing, if you get hit with that javelin, like it's just an immediate stoppage. And she's quite annoying right now because her cooldown on each of those abilities allows her to like just
Cycle.
Yeah. And it's just with the right, if you go against the right team, she's damn near unstoppable. Like matches are now 5v5 instead of 6v6. So they're trying to force a meta that's 1 tank, 2 healers, 2 DPS. Instead of 2 tanks, 2 healers, 2 DPS. It's rough right now because of the kit changes and because it's free to play now. Tons of new people are playing who think it's Call of Duty and not Overwatch. So there's a lot of times where, I play tank a lot. I play Reinhardt, which Reinhardt is very fun to play now. He's more DPS. He's still a tank, but he has 2 fire strikes now instead of 1. They refresh very quickly. Although I think his shield is a little less powerful now. But anyways, so now, I'm trying to be tank, but I get taken out immediately because all my other team are somewhere else because they're trying to get kills and do other things, and
not on the goddamn objective.
They're not on the objective, which, there's a new push mode, which is neat. You have one singular robot. It's like a tug of war, one singular robot in the middle. And then whoever team gets to it first, they'll start moving a, kind of looks like in football practice, the little dummy that you like tackle into.
Tackling dummy.
Yeah.
Or slide.
So it looks like those. And then he just like pushes that to like one or the other side. But if you lose control of it, he'll start walking the other way.
Or sled. Sorry, it's a sled. But
he's a funny robot. He says funny lines sometimes. But because of that, they've taken out attack games. So like points. So, the matches where you'll have to like try to recover a point. And then if you capture that point, you go to the second point. And if you get that point, you win. Yeah. Those matches are no longer in the game. Like they took those out.
Oh.
The fans said they didn't like it, I guess. And they took it out. So that's not there anymore. Now it's just push maps. Pushing the payload maps, and then I forgot there's a third one, I think. I don't know. There's a lot to it. Like Mei no longer freezes people. They got rid of all of the abilities that allow people to get stunned. So Mei no longer freezes people, but she's a lot more powerful now. So depending on how you feel about Mei, it might be more annoying. McCree no longer has a flashbang. He has a magnetic grenade. So if he throws it, it like attaches to you and then blows up, which is weird because you can't like roll and then like throw your flash and then fan the hammer. There's this like classic combo people use. Yeah. Moira has a thing where like if you get hit by her the purple orb or whatever when it explodes, the person who gets hit by it does 75% less damage to her, which is like nuts because most ults like won't even kill her if people get affected by it.
And that's just one of her abilities?
Yeah, that's just one of her like passive abilities.
So she could just save it for when someone's
popping. No, it'll happen every time. Like it's not something that cools down. It's passive ability. Yeah. So.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's something that's when I play it, I still enjoy it. It's still Overwatch. It's faster. It's a little more frenetic. But at the same time, it's very messy right now because so many people we're still figuring it out. All these new people have to get weeded out or learn how to play the game, and we have to figure out what we want changed. But I can tell you what we do want changed, and it's the goddamn battle pass because it's bad. It is a bad battle pass, and it is a bad system that they're using for this game. And I don't think it's worse than Halo Infinite's battle pass. Because Halo Infinite's battle pass was BS because it was like, oh yeah, you'll get the shoulder pad, but you can only use that shoulder pad with this core. Like, and you just couldn't put it on whatever you want when you could have in the other games. This one at least has some cool stuff, but the biggest downside is that you don't get any return from it. Like Apex Legends, like Fortnite, like any other free-to-play game that has a battle pass, you get premium currency in that battle pass. It pays for it. You only really have to pay for it once, and if you play enough, it just pays for itself continuously. You get none of that. And you can only get premium currency by either paying money or doing weekly challenges or monthly challenges, but even then you get like 30 coins a challenge, and you only get 3 of them. So it's extremely frustrating. And skins are like $20 each, even for skins from Overwatch 1. So it is very, 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 very disgusting. And you can definitely tell that, you know, people are like, what happened to Blizzard? And it's like, well, Activision happened to Blizzard.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Like, this isn't Blizzard anymore. This is Activision. And so that's very rough. I enjoy the game. I don't enjoy everything that's around it at the moment. And we talked about it, I think, a week or 2 ago or 3 weeks, but it's like, man, I can't wait till this takeover happens, because I hope to see like some changes if there are any.
You mean with Microsoft?
For Activision. But and it just seems like Jeff Kaplan was absolutely the glue, and then he left, and now it's this thing that. And then even today, excuse me, I guess there was an article that I just saw that like about 12 of the characters are now disabled for everyone because they're so screwed up, like, and they're trying to fix them. It's a messy launch, and it's a messy like start, because this was just simply supposed to be, I mean, of course Overwatch 2, but honestly it's an update. Like, you can still activate 6v6 and like custom games and stuff, and it's like they can do it, just they're not. Yeah. Oh, characters don't go on fire anymore. Like, you know, when it's like when you do very well, like you go on fire. Sure. There's no indication of it, but the character, and you don't get it, but characters still have the lines.
Oh, okay.
So it's weird. Yeah, it's weird. They took away the ending cards. Like at the end of the match, you can vote for like who did what. Yeah. They don't have those anymore.
See, that's too bad.
Yeah.
Because one thing I loved about Overwatch was that it's like, I loved eliminations, because eliminations were distinct from kills.
Yes.
Because eliminations were, I don't remember how they,
assists.
You didn't have to, they were essentially assists, yeah. The way the game treated it is that it treated eliminations like other games treat kills, right? So that encouraged teamwork.
Yeah.
And so those ending cards, I think, were just, I don't know, I'm sure there's other reasons they existed, but it was nice to see a healer, you know, at the end of a game that had 10,000 points of healing or something crazy.
They did their job.
Yeah, you see him up there and it's like, hell yeah. Or you see somebody with a ton of objective time or something like that, you know. So that's too bad. And I think that encouraged team play, because everything that you saw up there was team play. Like it all contributed to a win or something.
Yeah, it highlighted the other team too, because there's been plenty of times where I'm like, man, that guy was a good Lucio or whatever. That guy or that guy was a great Widowmaker, and you know, I'd vote for them. And
never happened.
Yeah, no, well, not usually. But that is also something like this. I've never thought about it in Overwatch 1, but in Overwatch 2, the last week I've been playing, I'm like, holy shit, you guys need to take like Genji, Hanzo, and like Sombra, and like all the like, they're considered DPS characters, but considering who we're fighting, you guys are not DPS. Like, you guys need to be put in like a 4th like pea shooter like range, because it's like, you know, when I'm going against an Orisa who's buffed by like 2 healers, and I have a Genji going, and it's like, you guys aren't doing anything. We need someone better. Like, come on. And they won't get off, and it's frustrating.
Sounds like you're playing squad. So when you said new people, there's this scene in Band of Brothers, right? One of the greatest TV shows of all time, 10 episodes.
Here we go.
Easy Company has to assault the town of Foy, right? Which is a German-held town. It's right after the Battle of the Bulge. And the way the town is situated is there's these woods that circle it, and then there's just farmland, and then there's the town. And the only way they have to assault it is they have to run across this field and then just assault the town. There's no cover in between, so they just have to make it across, whatever, out of the woods. And so what happens is Easy Company gets a new commander, and during the process of the attack, he breaks down, and so the attack stalls, so everybody has to hold up in the middle of the field. So they're out in the middle of nowhere, so they're just getting picked off. Anyway, so sometimes that's how I feel when you're playing. Like, I know what you mean, but like in squad, you're like, all right, squad, we gotta go to this farmhouse over here, let's go. And you watch him just run out in the open and just get mowed down from 6 different directions. But like, it's the same thing and over, because I remember those days in Overwatch where, you know, like you'd see the Widowmaker, some guy would pick Widowmaker on your team, he'd miss 3 shots, get 1 shot by McCree or whatever, and it's just like, well, great.
If you're good, I got no problem with it. But if we need something else at that time,
Get a little more
That's
beef.
the thing, if you're good. So all 5 people on planet Earth that can play a good Widowmaker, congratulations. Other than that, nobody should touch Widowmaker. I don't care if you're good at sniping in Call of Duty. I don't want it touched. Anything else, Richard?
no, that's it.
Okay. So yeah, Bone Labs, go check out the review, or Bone Lab, go check out the review. I talked about it last week, but yeah, came away ultimately underwhelmed, disappointed. I had fun, but it wasn't the same kind of experience that Boneworks was, or is. Boneworks is. I've been playing a lot of Sleeper Citizen, which is a very, very good game, very well written. Sleeper Citizen is about exploitation. It's about survival. It's about, I think, agency. It's very similar to Severance, the TV show Severance. But yeah, it's about... last time I talked about it, I hadn't gotten all the way through. But now that I have, it's about you're an android whose consciousness has been emulated from another person who is in sleep. So this person, essentially what happens are these people sign a contract with a corporation to lend their consciousness to an android, and then that android essentially becomes a slave while this person is in like a Cairo sleep thing, right? Which is dystopian as hell. Because this isn't a robot, this is an android with wants and desires, and you know that has all the consciousness of a human being. So you're escaping and you're running. You're trying to escape your captors, and you end up on a space station called the Eye, and then you go off and you're doing stuff on the space station, and there's politics and people are surviving on the station. But yeah, it's really interesting. It's very good. It's very well written. I'm confused as to how far I'm in the game, because it feels like, so the game gives you what happens is there is a central story. There is something happening. There is a ton of side stories, but there is like one thing happening, and it shows you a little clock. And the clock, every day you do all your activities. Once you spend all your dice, because how it is, you roll dice at the beginning of the game, you use those, or beginning of the day, you use those dice to do activities. Once you run out of dice, you have to go to sleep. You wake up the next day, you have new dice. But at the beginning of every day, there's a little clock, a countdown timer until the next story sequence. Well, I have gotten past that story sequence, and then I got past another big story sequence. And now there's no story sequence counting down, and I just have some side quests, and so I'm confused as to when's the next thing gonna happen? Where's the central narrative? Where did that go? And it's weird because those countdown timers make it where you have to prioritize certain things. So you may not be able to complete a quest because you have to do this in a few days, and you have to spend your dice on this. You can't spend your dice on the side quests. You have to spend on the main quest or whatever. So it makes you prioritize like that. But now without the countdown timer, it's just, if I want to spend a day just getting credits so I can buy food, I can spend an entire day just getting credits, because there's nothing forcing me to have to like complete side quests and stuff like that.
Yeah. False sense of security.
That, I mean, it could be that, because it is pretty unpredictable and things happen. It's also, I've also failed a few side quests, but I didn't feel cheapened by failing the side quests. if that makes sense.
Okay.
Because sometimes it's just the dialogue option you pick, and it's less you
Right.
failing it and more this is how the story turned out. Does that
Oh
make sense?
man. Yeah. Okay.
Which I'm fine with. But it makes it really interesting.
I'm curious for you to get to Disco Elysium.
Disco Elysium, I know.
Because man, some of those is like you'll feel like you made the right choice, and then the game will make you feel like you're a piece of shit. At least for me, it did.
That is on tap.
Certain
I have
choices.
it, but eventually, once I figure out Sleeper Citizen. But anyway, but I would highly. The soundtrack is great. The writing is good, so I would highly recommend Sleeper Citizen. Other than Sleeper Citizen, the only other game I've been playing a lot of is more Baldur's Gate, and I can't believe Baldur's Gate is this massive. I keep finding new zones. Today, I found a zone. I've played Baldur's Gate probably since I got it and started. I had to have at least put in 50 hours into Baldur's Gate at this point. I got to Baldur's Gate and I was thinking, okay, this is going to be a little town section. No, it's like 6 town sections, each with their own buildings and guilds. And I was like, holy shit. Mm-hmm. So I'm doing that. And then I explored a little bit more today and I found a new little plot of land that you can go to. And in this plot of land are brand new monsters that I have not faced yet. And these monsters petrify you. Ooh. Or not petrify you, they what's it called? They turn you into stone. I guess that
petrify. Yeah,
petrify.
Yeah, you're right.
They turn you into stone. I was like, son of a gun. I think so. So there are spells, and of course, in my first fight with them, 2 of my squaddies got petrified, and I'm like, no, F that. Like I reloaded a save. I'm not gonna run up to I'm not gonna get surprised that way. There are spells that you can cast it, and it protects you from petrification for a little bit. But yeah, I think it was basilisks. They had like 6 legs. They kind of look like a dinosaur.
Yep.
Yeah, and I had no idea. Basilisk. Yeah, I was like, charge squad, and then one of the guys just got turned into stone. I was like, oh shit. But yeah, so and I ran into a couple other things, horror something.
Helmed horror?
Maybe. But I couldn't damage them, and I don't know.
Was it just a suit of armor?
They look like knights.
Helmed horror.
Do I need what's the turn undead for that?
Possibly.
Okay.
Well, they're animated constructs, so.
All right. Okay. Yeah.
But then again, this is 5th edition D&D knowledge and 4th edition D&D knowledge. It's not 2nd edition.
Yeah,
so.
2nd edition. But I ran into some of those and I couldn't do any damage to them. I had no idea what. So anyway, the point I'm trying to make here is I found a couple other. I'm level 5. My party is a mix of level 5 and 6. The game says you'll eventually get up to level 10. So I'm more than halfway level wise with the game. And I'm finding enemies that I still like. It's like I'm just not in the same ballpark as them yet. And I have to just wait. But I got into a boss fight with the latest boss fight in the story was so fantastic because the way that it's set up is you get to the top of a building and then you encounter a couple bad guys. And they're all very powerful. And some of them are spellcasters and some of them are like fighters. And I tried a bunch of different things to figure out how to beat this group of enemies. A bunch of different spells, a bunch of different tactics, and a ton of things didn't work. But, and a lot of games do this, but Baldur's Gate did this in 1998, is like during these boss fights, during normal fights, it's not super difficult, but during boss fights, I am using all my potions, all my different wands, all my different spells, to find a way to take out bad guys. But like when I got into this fight, I had one of my characters drink a potion of invulnerability, a couple drink a potion of protection from magic, and then I have I play as a priest and I have a mage in the party, and the mage has a spell for summoning monsters, and my priest is carrying a summon monsters wand, which allows you to cast the spell a limited number of times before it breaks. So what I would do is I'd send my fighters in to fight the fighters, and then just to screen the mages, I would summon monsters from both my priest and my mage. So I'd have like 10 friendly monsters of like sometimes it's a cobalt, sometimes it's like a like a dog, other times it's like some super ultra demon, Yeah. But I bring them up just so they would absorb spells, because the way Baldur's Gate works is mages in the game have a limited number of spells. And so do priests. They have a limited number of spells they can cast a day before they have to rest, right? But it works the same for the NPCs. So if you're fighting an NPC and he's casting, or he, she, whatever, are casting spells, and they can only cast 5 spells, once their 5 spells are gone, they'll pull out their dagger or something.
Yeah.
So there are tactics where you can like make an NPC boss that's a spellcaster burn
out of
through their
spells.
spells,
Oh, neat.
and that is so freaking cool. And we're talking about 1998. Like, oh, that's awesome. And I have passed boss fights just by taking a character, putting boots of fastness on them, and have them like zip around while the spellcaster was like throwing spells at them, just to get the spellcaster to run out of spells, which made me feel like I was playing D&D. Like I was saying, how about we do this? Roll for athletics. I'm going to run around and he's going to cast fireballs at me until he's out of spells. You know, it was really neat. So Connor's like, oh yeah, well, as a DM.
I'm just describing D&D.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you're playing D&D.
Sure. But anyway, so Baldur's Gate's very good. I'm stunned how good Baldur's Gate is. So
That's why I got an enhanced edition.
yes, that's why I could have a remake. Whoa, foreshadow. Hit the ad. Thanks for listening. If you like our content, please consider subscribing or leaving a like and comment. You can find us at patreon.com/The Gaming Discourse. And our tiers are $2, $4, $7, and $10 and include getting your name in the video credits, early access, and access to our Discord server. Richard.
Herman Hulst spoke to Axios about the future of PlayStation. Among things, this includes 12 live ops games, or live service games, utilizing new IPs as well as existing franchises, continuing blockbusters, more games to PC, and mobile games. Some of these were already known, but we believe that this is the first time they've said it publicly.
Yeah, I'm not sure, at least presented this big idea publicly at once. That may be
Not
wrong.
all at once.
That was
separately,
speculation on my
sure.
end. But anyway, so this brought to my mind a lot of stuff because I think Sony, we've talked about Sony a lot because Sony's in an interesting world where they like owned the 2010s and then the late 2010s happened to them and Xbox sort of changed the way things were done.
Sorry. They owned the 2000s, late 2000s. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, so here's the way I'm imagining it in my head. It's like at the beginning in 2010, you had 360, PS3, and that's not a competition. But then like 2 years into that, you started the PS4, Xbox One generations, right?
Yeah, 2013, yeah.
And I think at that point, from then on, it was Sony's world, and Xbox was living in it.
Yeah. I mean, they flipped around like 2014, 15, when
Yeah.
the exclusives started coming out and everything. Yeah,
Sure.
You're right.
And
You're
I
right.
think maybe until 3 years ago, that was the case.
Yes.
And then Xbox Game Pass became a thing and became super successful. And so now Sony has to adjust to that world,
Yes.
right? Even it's like it's passed them by. They had it, and all of a sudden, nope, this is the way it is now. Even though they were owning it for the past,
Right.
for the past couple of years. I think that's interesting. I don't. And when we look at their position, I don't know why. Well, I know why mobile is such a big deal because of how much money it brings in.
Yeah.
But I feel like they also have they also have the ability to do so many other things that maybe they couldn't compensate for mobile, but they're the only console maker that has a viable VR right, attachment.
Yes.
They have a history of portable gaming with PSP and
A very good
PlayStation Vita.
history, yeah.
And portable gaming is a big thing. Switch, Steam Deck, those are two different markets, but I think with game streaming becoming the thing that it is, I think there may be I don't know, an opportunity there that is distinct from mobile gaming that Sony could leverage experience and franchises into that maybe Xbox couldn't because Xbox doesn't have the same sort of mobile or handheld experience, although that would be xCloud would be their answer there. So anyway, all I'm trying to say here is PlayStation's in an interesting point, and I don't know why. Again, I know why, but I feel like there could be better priorities than mobile. And we'll talk about remasters in a second. You look like you wanted to say something.
There could be better priorities than mobile, but I think mobile is a fine market to kind of dig into. Everyone has a phone, and at least a large amount of them play something on the phone. Nah, that's not a guarantee that they'll play something Sony related. But for instance, we'll take, one of the biggest markets or one of the biggest games on mobile is both like Call of Duty Mobile and Genshin Impact. And those are, fairly high performing games that are doing just fine. I think that if Sony if they wanted to go back into the route of handhelds, if they want to make it easy on themselves, they should just do that. Just focus on cell phone games rather than try to create a whole new handheld. They could do it if they want to. I don't doubt it, but they would have to approach it differently than they did with the Vita, because they had a lot of firewalls. I'll use the phrase on Vita to make it unsuccessful. Very, very expensive memory cards that were proprietary. Nobody else could make them. Exclusives that didn't do too well that they kind of put all their chips on, like the Call of Duty game and stuff like that. And the puzzling partnership between them and AT&T to have the Vita run with the SIM card so that you would buy data from AT&T to play online.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, that was one of the launch things. That was it, man. Like they were booed for that.
Oh, okay. I don't
like
remember
at E3. You can watch the video after. But if they wanted to dominate, or not necessarily dominate, but if they wanted to get into that, they could. And I think that would be an easier way to revive some dormant franchises that may have something and to offer. Like on Vita, there was a really cool Uncharted card game that was similar to like Hearthstone.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it was Fight for Fortune, I think it was called, Uncharted Fight for Fortune. But it was really, really, really well beloved from the fans of the series and just trading card game enthusiasts as well. But they shut that down recently, a couple years ago. But that could be put on the phone. Like if you wanted to get really dumb, you can make like an endless runner featuring Cole from Infamous. With his powers, like swipe left or right. These are just dumb things. But if they did want to go somewhere where it was a little more advanced, they could make a game if they wanted to.
Yeah, I know. In my head, it's a dumb idea.
Yeah.
Thanks. No, in my head, the idea of another.
I meant. No,
that you're fine.
Like a
no, not the runner. Not the runner.
Going. No, whatever.
Yes, the runner.
We're on two different wavelengths here.
The runner was a dumb idea.
The idea of like a Vita 2, I think, on its face is dumb because you're not making money with consoles.
Yeah.
You're not making money selling hardware at this point, right? So you're talking about another piece of hardware on top of you're already making a console and you're already making PSVR, right? Mm-hmm. So that's two other things of hardware that you have to sell.
Right.
But I don't know. I think it would be interesting if they released something like the Steam Deck that somehow, like, imagine if, you're not going to?
It was called the Vita.
Wait, but you couldn't. I thought
you could stream your PS4 to your Vita.
Okay, but it was streaming,
right?
So you couldn't I don't know. Could you? Because I never had a Vita. I don't remember. Could you install?
No, you couldn't.
Yeah. So what if you could? That's what I'm trying to. That's the point I'm trying to get to. Some games on the Steam Deck I think are streamed. Other games are installed and stuff. So I think it's a mixed bag. Actually, I don't actually know. I'm pretty. You know what? Don't quote me on that. But it's just a dumb idea I had.
We're just spitballing.
Yeah, and the other thing about PSVR, I think it's important to point out that the PSVR is sort of in its own market because it's console tethered as opposed to the Quest 2, right? Mm-hmm. It's like everything. The PSVR 2 is console tethered. Your indexes and whatnot are PC tethered, and then you have Meta Quest 2, which is tethered to
the garbage fire.
Well, no, it's sold extremely well, but it's tethered to Meta, which is the worst thing about it.
A garbage fire.
Yes.
Well, sure. But you can hook it up to a PC. But like if PlayStation put out some gigantic super duper killer app for PSVR, right? I do wonder if it could break into that Meta market a little bit.
So that's what remains to be seen, and that's what I think. I really kind of hope that Sony kind of pivots on. So the connectivity from the PSVR 2 to the PS5 will be the USB-C cable for the port and from the PS5. It's just one single cable. USB-C is going to be the way to connect everything from here on out. What's to say somebody won't write a script that'll allow you to use your PSVR 2 headset on a PC? If Sony wanted to do that, they should let you. I know they want to make money with the PS5, and the PSVR 2 is a PS5 product. But imagine the audience that they could get with a somewhat powerful headset. I know it's used in conjunction with the system, but a somewhat powerful headset that is reasonably priced, probably, a couple hundred. We don't know what the prices, right? We don't know the prices. I don't foresee them going more than 500. I don't want them to go 500. I want them to go like maybe 354, but like with the index being like $1,000 for the entire setup, a $500 headset that's pretty good and it has the same controls as everywhere else. Isn't a bad entry point for those who have PCs good enough for it.
No, and I think if you're somebody that has a PC and you have a PlayStation and you're looking for a headset, that's an automatic. I'll take PSVR.
And if Sony wants to put more PS games on VR or on PC, just
and VR games. The tech behind it is the thing that I'm not going to know, because I'm not going to know how complicated or even if it would be possible to. Because I don't know, PSVR is just a headset, right? So I'd assume that it's essentially a really fancy TV, right? A really fancy monitor. I'm simplifying it, and I'm sure it's not that simple. But I mean, I imagine it couldn't be astronomically more complex to set that up to a PC than it is like the Meta Quest 2. I think that's Richard. I think that's a really good idea. I think that's something PlayStation should do, especially because they're pushing into the PC market.
Yeah, very well.
And it's not like, if you do that, if you say, hey, our headset is compatible with PCs, you can do it this way, you're still not putting yourself to compete directly with Meta and Valve and whatnot, because your PC is still tethered to your PS5s and your PlayStation.
Yeah, they could still use the marketing jargon like plays better on PS5, but
sure, yeah,
you can use it on your PC as well, I guess.
Yeah, or that's a. See, this is what I mean. I don't think
Sony hire us.
Come on.
No, because they're in a weird position, and it feels like sometimes they're on the defensive. Maybe that's just my perception. Do you guys have that same perception? Does it feel like they're on the defensive sometimes? Because they've been, they didn't want to do crossplay. They were kind of iffy on PC.
Children.
I guess defensive. I think they're just kind of figuring out what they want to do next, which I mean can be seen as defensive. But
I just feel like they've got more. Listen, Herman, you got more going for you than you think you do. Trust us.
Hire us.
Yeah, we're idea men. And as soon as I get there, I'm just going to be like, Bloodborne remake. It's going to be like Will Arnett in The Office. I'll give you step 2 of step 1 of my 7-step plan. But I'm not going to give you a whole step. Okay, so let's talk about remakes. Because Horizon Zero Dawn is getting a remaster.
Supposedly, was that confirmed or was that supposed?
No, that is confirmed.
Oh,
I believe this is confirmed. Yeah. And made people angry, although justifiably.
Yeah.
You guys look like you didn't like it.
I'm not ready to play that game again. I'm not thinking about that game.
Did it come out?
2017.
2017. It's been 5 years.
Yeah, 5 years.
I don't think there's been of course the updates to like how the PS5 renders everything does look better.
Yeah.
But I think, at the end of the life cycle of the PS4, it was rendering things very beautifully, and Horizon Zero Dawn and God of War already.
Still do.
Yeah, they still do.
Still do. Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't see the purpose of a remaster right now unless you're doing a remake and doing some tweaks. In which case, it's not a remaster; it's a remake.
Yeah. I think that the Last of Us remaster, not the remake, the remaster was justified because it was a late release on PS3. It wasn't like super late, but it was
long
late.
song.
It was late enough that if you'd bought a PS4 and it's not backwards compatible on a PS3 anymore, you'd make your money back. I don't. Like I said, I'm not ready for it to play Horizon again, especially after Forbidden West this year. I think that I would probably be more comfortable from here on out, just hearing the game being called an upgrade rather than a remaster. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The remaster for me indicates that, well,
I think we all sort of understand what it means.
yeah, no, yeah.
I mean, it's not a remake, but there's quality of life changes. It's going to run at higher
Additional
frame
polishing.
rates. Additional
I'm
polishing.
I'm not
whatever.
trying to like take work from anybody, but
And it's not easy to do that. Yeah. of course.
and I'm not trying to, once again, I'm not an arm shoulder developer. I'm not trying to be, but it's, man, that the time that you use and time and the money and you use of remaking that game when it's already backwards compatible. Like it's like PS5 is already backwards compatible with PS4.
Yeah.
The amount of time and money you're using to remaster that game go into remastering other games that people want or remaking other games that people want. Of course, people won't shut up about a Bloodborne remaster.
Well, do you blame them?
No, I don't.
Especially with how good Elden Ring was. Could you imagine
I don't, because the amount of that would sell is now after Elden Ring.
And Bloodborne was a
is
PlayStation
insane.
exclusive.
It is.
It
Yeah.
never, right? I'm not misremembering, right? It
it's
never came to,
exclusive, yeah, it's exclusive.
which is crazy to me. That if they just released it, not even a remaster, if they just released Bloodborne for PC,
they just need to
make a ton of money.
They just need to put 60 frames a second on it. That's all. Honestly, that's all they need to do is all these guys are asking for. But we kind of already talked about how many. There are so many other dormant franchises that all these companies, not just Sony, Nintendo, and to an extent Xbox, have forgotten that they can pull from, and they'd rather keep their new franchises on people's minds, I guess, from this announcement.
Yeah, I think so. The thing that was interesting in this announcement was the 12. I'm just going to call them live service games. I don't know why they decided to call them live ops. That's annoying. Just going to call it live service games. Because they said there's some franchises there's some new IPs and there's some franchises that have existed for a while, So that's interesting. And I, when I try to think of like what games could fit a looter shooter, I don't know, maybe Killzone. I really don't know. I have no idea. But
Killzone, Twisted Metal would be another one.
Yeah,
They can make a live service.
just in terms of franchises that they could revive. Killzone, Twisted Metal.
Killzone, Twisted Metal, Resistance,
Infamous. Right.
I mean,
but the problem with
Tenchu, Sly Cooper,
and I think part of the problem is that
Jack and Dexter.
My perception of Sony has always been that they like their teams doing certain things.
Mm-hmm.
So, Sucker Punch, they are Ghost of Tsushima 2, right?
Of course, that's no brainer.
They're not going to stop to make an Infamous 4 or whatever it would be at this point. Infamous,
It'd be great.
yeah. But so do you hand that over to another studio?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a risk. I don't know. So I think maybe that's something they're struggling with. But, and I said this to you before the show, and I still don't know if I'm right or not. But I feel like of the big three, Nintendo, Xbox, and Sony, I feel like Sony may have the most distinct IPs that if they resurrected or if they remade things, they'd have the biggest library there.
Uh-huh.
Now, there are a ton of Nintendo games that if they were remade, people would be happy, but I don't think it's as diverse. Does that make sense? And maybe I'm wrong. That's just intuition. Because Nintendo's only ever made, 6 different games. It's just like, we're gonna get death threats now, but
I don't know. I'm just glad I heard that from someone else's mouth instead of my own.
But which is fine. It's fine. Nintendo, you do you. You pay your workers horribly. You do you.
This is Nintendo's problem. Nintendo's thing is that the games that they make are like ostensibly immediate masterpieces.
Well,
that you shouldn't remake, because if they remade like Zelda: Link to the Past and they re-released it, I don't know if anybody would like it. I mean, there would be people who like it, but the people who like the original game would not like it. Where I think that if they were to remake something like Siphon Filter, I think that would probably go over better than
And Siphon Filter is well loved, but it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, people won't kill you if you say you gave it a 7 out of 10.
Splinter Cell before Splinter Cell. Honestly.
Yeah, exactly. No, oh shoot! I just had a thought pop into my head, but I think it's gone now. Yeah, it's gone now.
Xbox Cat as Azuric. They got Blinks the Time Sweeper. Hell yeah, that game rules. Fusion Frenzy, it's a good party game.
Yeah.
I think PlayStation has the most to gain from franchises.
Maybe
that
that's
get remade.
what I'm trying to say. Maybe that's a better way to say it.
No, I mean the other studios. I mean, Nintendo can remake games all they want, but the thing is, they keep improving. They keep finding ways to make their franchises better rather than, going back to the old stuff.
And that's the thing video games have that I think. I'm not sure movies I'm not sure other sectors of entertainment have something similar. Because, for example, so you can Resident Evil 2. You did the remake, which was amazing, but the principles were almost the same.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. It
was it was just a modernization of a game that you have played before. But that modernization made it clean and distinct enough that joy and that fun and that horror was renewed.
And that's really all that anybody wants.
Now, I feel for the people who want to play Resident Evil 2 again, but want like an HD remaster or something, right? Because they want to see the giant spiders or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, something like that. Or I would love a Metal Gear Solid remake, on crazy Unreal Engine 5, but it would also be great to have a Metal Gear Solid 5 HD remake or something, where it's like, okay, I can play something that's closer to the original version. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because, I guess it's similar to like a Blu-ray version of a movie today, You watch the Blu-ray edition of Blade Runner, and it's like, oh, this is amazing, okay? And it's sort of a HD remake in a sense of, your VHS copy from 1995 or whatever, right? As opposed to making a remake of Blade Runner, which I think is tougher to do in movies because people don't like it as much and because the actors' performances are big parts of why people like specific movies. But it's not so much the case in video games.
I think it is specific. I think it is particular.
Oh, well, yeah, like with David Hayter. If you were to do Metal Gear Solid.
Well, they already did.
And
once.
you didn't bring back David Hayter.
Well, they already did once and people hated it.
Yeah.
Like the Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes. Because I liked it, but I understand because you fundamentally change the game was meant to be played a specific way.
Yeah.
Like created to play a specific way, top down. You're restricted by what you could see. But if you allow yourself to see anywhere you want and shoot anywhere you want, then it kind of breaks the game. So I think there is specific things that you'd have to avoid, I guess, if the game was made a certain way. Resident Evil 2 worked because it was just we're remaking the same game but with better controls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But do you understand
Resident Evil 1.
the distinction I'm trying to make there?
Oh, maybe I misunderstood.
No. It's not that you misunderstood. I'm just making sure I was understood.
Sounds like I was misunderstood.
The difference between the remake and the remaster.
Oh.
Because they are differences.
Yes.
Because like the Dead Space remake, I'm super stoked for. But it's going to be different from the Dead Space, right?
I hope so, yeah. But
Dead Space is still a game that is its own thing, right? There is a wall around Dead Space. And the Dead Space remake is a separate entity. Even though it's a remake, it's still a separate entity.
Yeah.
So it's like from a preservation standpoint, you still want that Dead Space game to be as playable as it can be into the foreseeable future, which is why remasters are important. And so anyway, we've gone on a lot of tangents, which is fine because sometimes on this show it's really depressing news, so it's nice just to talk about video games. But back to the original PlayStation point, PlayStation has VR that other consoles don't have. They have they're getting into the PC market. It's been a smash hit. And like Nintendo doesn't have that. They don't really have a game. They have their Game Pass, quote unquote. But it's sort of timid and not really like the, love whatever you want, man, options of Xbox Game Pass. And then they have a gigantic library of IPs and games they could remake that I'm not sure Xbox has. You're more of the person with the the memory, but like as far like the biggest Xbox games from the 2000s, I'm thinking the Halos.
Yeah, the Halos.
And there was already a Gears of War remake.
Technically, the Splinter Cell was the killer app for Xbox because it was designed for Xbox.
Yeah. Okay.
I named off a couple. I mean, some of them were silly, but some of them, like the original Fable, you remake Fable.
Yeah.
You know,
weren't they gonna do that, or
they're making a new Fable?
new
not
Fable.
to say it's a remake.
Okay.
Geez.
Yeah.
Now I'm.
But I think PlayStation would have the edge there.
Yeah, of course.
Right? Yeah. All right, we're going to move on as soon as I get to my notes. Meta employees aren't using Horizon Worlds. This is according to memos obtained by The Verge. These memos say Horizon Worlds is suffering from too many quality issues, and even the team building it isn't using it a lot. For reference, Horizon Worlds is Meta's big metaverse app that does something. I say that irreverently. I played it a little bit today for a couple hours. It's basically a rec room. We'll talk about it in a little bit, okay. But it's a user generated content, that kind of thing. We'll talk about more in a second.
Is it a poor man's VR chat?
I've never played VR chat, but we'll talk about it in a second.
Okay, all right.
Just wait, kids. Just wait. I'm gonna turn this man around. In one memo, I'm going to pronounce this name wrong. I apologize. Meta's VP of Metaverse, Vishal Shah, says, quote, "Since launching late last year, we have seen that the core thesis of Horizon Worlds, a synchronous social network where creators can build engaging worlds, is strong. But currently, feedback from our creators, users, playtesters, and many of us on the team is that the aggregate weight of paper cuts, stability issues, and bugs is making it too hard for our community to experience the magic of Horizon." End quote. Remember, Horizon, along with Horizon Venues, hit 300,000 users this year, and there are plans for it to come to mobile and desktop, which is weird. I laughed for a second while I was reading that, because as I read that quote, I was thinking about Metal Gear, and I just pictured Colonel calling up Snake and saying, "A synchronous social network, Snake." And Snake's like, "Social network, huh?"
Turn off the game.
Okay.
This is just one of the. I always wanted to try Horizon Venues because there was a couple of concerts. I was like, oh shit, I'd love to. Yeah. And then, and I wanted to see, but there were times were always weird because they were either performing in like another part of the world at that time, and you had to tune in at like 2 a.m. or something, and so I never got a chance to try it out. But Horizon Worlds specifically is the definition of like the VR. We'll use VR chat as an example. I don't ever remember there being a big, we're making this thing, it's called VR chat, and everybody can get on, everybody can do it. VR chat kind of was just released.
Yeah.
And the population cultivated VR chat. Ever since its inception, Horizon Worlds has been in our face, shoved consistently, and forced fed to us this idea that it was going to be the next big thing. Consistently, when you generally can't force in something like that. It has to be natural, organic, cultivated, so I think that's part of it, especially since even if their own like workers don't want to use it because they're probably being forced to use it too. And I don't know how you are with VR, but I play my Quest, and it's probably because I don't have the AC on or anything, but within 10 minutes I'm already like, damn, like I'm not disoriented, but it's just like I'm hot, like this headset keeps sliding down because of like the sweat is now starting to like, so sure. I gotta keep like adjusting it, so it's already like kind of frustrating to be in that position. So I don't know what the end goal of Horizon Worlds is. They say what the end goal is, but it's just kind of, that's not what I want.
Yeah, I think Meta is a super unpopular company, and for good reason. I don't think any of us in here like
Facebook.
Yeah, I don't think any of us in here are big fans of Meta or Facebook.
Never use Meta. Oh no, I just used it.
So I think that's I think that's part of the reason. I think another part of the reason is its proximity to NFTs and cryptocurrencies and shit like that. I think another part of that reason is the idea that Meta. So first of all, Horizon Worlds is just a bad name. Mm-hmm. It's just a horrible name. If you're gonna name if you're going to give your video random words for a name, it has to be 3 words. Metal Gear Solid, Horizon Zero Dawn has to be 3 words. And then you go from there.
Or
But
one.
it can't be Horizon Worlds, because I just hate that.
Killzone Shadowfall. Oh, wow.
Killzone Shadowfall. Thank you.
Infamous Second Son. Oh, my God.
Hey, there you go.
Halo.
Shit. Combat Evolved. Combat Evolved.
Combat Evolved.
Halo 2. Halo 2. Halo 3.
Damn it.
Halo, the Master Chief Collection. No. So the point is, anyway, suffice it to say, Horizon Worlds is a bad name. And it's not...
You won't be saying that when Horizon Worlds 2 comes along.
Horizon Worlds, the Master Chief Collection.
Remaster.
We need a Horizon Worlds remake now. No. So it's not it's like, have you played Rec Room?
Yeah, for
It's
a little,
it's
for a
really
little
similar
bit. Yeah.
to Rec Room. There's like mini games.
Yeah.
You go around these worlds.
Talk, hang out.
You can talk. You can hang out. There was like, I went to a place today, it's like one of the main hubs, and there's like a basketball court, and people were like tossing a ball, and it's just really basic avatars. Like, if it wasn't connected to meta, I'd be like, oh yeah, this is cool, this is neat. You can create your own levels, and it's like your level, your world. You can invite people to it. I went to somebody's world, and they had a bunch of different. They made a street. I'm not sure if they made it or it was a template. They had a street, and they had a bunch of stores, and if you went into the store, there was an option to go to that world. So it wasn't like already there. You go to that world, and it's like, now you're in that person's store, in this person's town. Okay, but there are some things that are weird. Like, there are in-app purchases, and it's like, well, that's strange. But what are you buying? It's really confusing, because you can buy artwork that somebody made in the game. And I'm not sure, or you can put your name on a piece of artwork for so much money, for so much time. I went into a museum, and I walked up, and it was like, put your name on this artwork, press here. And I was like, what is that? And I pressed on it. It was like, play. It was $50. It was like $50 to have your name on this artwork for 3 months. And I was like, what does that even mean? So it's little things like that where that feels like metaverse NFT bullshit, right?
Yeah.
That's not, hey, we want to connect, blah, 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 blah. That's cynical NFT, metaverse.
Sounds like a more complicated Second Life.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is metaverses have been around. It's just the term metaverse was created by some douchebag, in Silicon Valley, I'm just going to suppose. We'll just say Zuck said it somewhere.
Yeah.
And everyone agreed with him.
Zuckster.
The Zuckster. And I'm an Android. I'm just going to say it until we get that button press. But Second Life. I remember in college, I wrote a story about a game called Hypatia, which is still on Steam. It's free to play now. The company, I think, folded, unfortunately. But their goal was to make a town, and it was exactly Horizon Worlds. It was the same exact thing. It was a town. There were performances. You made an avatar. You walked around this town. You can go into buildings. They wanted to make an entire town that was fully constructed. So five-story tall buildings. Mm-hmm. All the rooms were there. All the stories were there. That was their plan. And it was the same thing. It was just a place where you could hang out and create in this fictional town, Hypatia. And I wrote a story about that. And so here we are years later. And these companies, I think what Facebook, what I assume is that the idea is to somehow merge VR chat or Second Life with Facebook or with Meta. And then to have transactions happen in that space, and then Meta gets a cut of some of those transactions. Sure. I don't know that for sure, but I would be amazed if you could spend $50 in Horizon Worlds and Meta doesn't see a cent of that. I'd be very surprised.
They're never going to get old people into this.
Well, no, but I don't think they care. But
well, I mean, that's a large majority of their user base.
Well, that's true. That's true. So yeah, I don't know. It's not super impressive, and it's frustrating because Meta owns such a huge chunk of the VR market, and we have this awesome new technology that makes games that 15 years ago were impossible, right? 10 years ago were impossible. 7 years ago were impossible. And we're playing games now that blow our minds every year in VR. And one of the biggest companies with one of the biggest market shares of VR is fucking around with some metaverse shit that nobody cares about except for some dude who made a vanity site and dropped out of Harvard or Yale or whatever college he went to. Right? And that sucks. Because if you put the creativity of like an actual game studio there with the resources that they have, you could have some amazing VR apps that I think would hold a better purpose. Actual experiences, stories, games, stuff like that, than this weird social experiment that I think comes down to Web3 bullshit and microtransaction bullshit and trying to loop people into like another type of social media. So yeah, that's my thing about Meta Horizons. Or whatever it's called. I hate that.
I was literally about to say Horizon Zero Dawn.
Oh, go ahead, Connor.
No, I was just curious, like, how dystopian do you think it is working there? Like, hey, we have a meeting at 4 in Jim's world. Your headset.
Yeah, and that's
it's like this
thing.
really cringy, awkward setting that you're having a super serious meeting.
I think it defeats the purpose a bit if you have it on mobile. Like, if waving at somebody in VR is different than running up to them with a keyboard or a controller and saying hi, right? Because you get a sense of how tall they are. You see it's the closest to human interaction you can get without actually being there. And I think there's something about that. There's something about our species where being able to fist bump somebody, even if it's virtually, it's better than it's the closest thing to actually physically being there. But like, okay, you get to desktop. Well, and now what's the point? Yeah. You've just lessened, like, VR super immersive. Now it's just a desktop game.
You can play VR chat.
You can play VR chat, yeah. But again, VR chat was never kicking the door and saying, we're going to change the world.
Right,
it was just a fun thing. So yeah, anyway. Yeah, that confuses me.
This sucks.
Are you ready for Tidbits?
Let's do it.
A man discusses the news, but not like the big news, the little news. Little bit. This is the Tidbits.
Game Pass makes a lot of money, guys.
You're going to have to leave it in because we're laughing now.
No, don't worry about it. Game Pass makes a lot of money. The Activision-Microsoft merger has caused a lot of commotion with regulators around the world trying to figure out the legalities of everything. But over in Brazil, the Administrative Council for Economic Defense, otherwise known as CADE, I know the acronym doesn't fit the whatever.
Sure.
Has already approved the merger, but they have released public documents outlining the process behind the approval, and they have some numbers. In one specific figure, it shows that Game Pass has generated $2.9 billion for Microsoft. Of course, Microsoft has been a bit, dodgy when revealing numbers, but they have no choice when they have to, give this information to a country. Yeah. They have, inadvertently revealed how much Game Pass makes, at least for the year 2021. It's $2.9 billion.
That's a ton of money.
Yeah.
But there's some pandemic in there.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Because all video game numbers from like 2020, 2021 are going to be inflated, I would assume.
There was a good quote from Frank Cifaldi on a podcast years ago about the NES anniversary and how, there is a book about how they're talking about, if you had a license with Nintendo, possibility you might get burned because your game might not do well. And he says nobody was really getting burned. The only caveat was instead of 5 billion, you're making $1 billion.
Yeah.
And so this is kind of that thing. It's like, you're not making $2.9 billion maybe this year. This year you're making $2.9 billion, but next year you might make $1 billion.
Sure.
It's still $1 billion. So it's a lot of money still.
Yep. And I got to say, it surprises me that it's that much, although maybe it shouldn't because of how successful it's been. But if that's the money that they're making from Game Pass, I do wonder if other companies look at that and go, holy shit, that service. And I wonder if Google sees that and goes, what we did was really stupid.
Well, again, here's the thing. No other company can do that.
Right.
Well, how do you mean?
Well, no other company can find, yes, they're making $2.9 billion, but how much money did they sink into? Because no other company that is currently in the games industry right now can sink the amount of money and hemorrhage the amount of money that Microsoft is doing. Because there's no way that like it's all profits and they're all living easy off of Game Pass.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that expensive of a service that it's going to be profitable forever.
Mm-hmm.
There will be a tipping point. There will be a point where it's a loss. But again, Microsoft can do that. They can operate at a loss forever because they have other ventures that make them money.
They own computers.
They essentially they own computers, and they own a lot of the servers that companies work off of.
Yeah.
So they don't need this to be a hugely successful thing to them. And other companies can look at it and be like, maybe we should try that. But then they're going to look at the numbers and be like, we can't afford to do that.
No, that's a really good point because I imagine Sony would have the capability of making like a Sony Game Pass type app for the PC. Just saying that seems like a bad idea though, just because I imagine for whatever reason it wouldn't go down well. But do they have the capital to do that?
They don't have the capital or the games.
Yeah.
Really? You don't think so?
Oh.
But what? Sorry. So what if they did something similar to Game Pass though? Because every game on Game Pass isn't an Xbox
here's the
Studio
thing.
game.
If you're going to start doing what Game Pass does, you have to do it better than Game Pass,
which you couldn't,
and you couldn't
outspend them. They're like the Yankees of Game Passes.
Yeah. So Sony can try, but all Microsoft has to do is, hey, we're a better platform for it.
Yeah.
And then Sony has to outbid.
Okay.
Right. That's the thing. Sony would have to outbid like if Microsoft has already come to the person who's making, I don't know, Little Witch in the Woods. Like, we'll give you like $5 million for this. And when it comes to them, they're like, hey, we want your game on your thing. Well, Microsoft's giving me $5 million. Are you going to give me $6 million? No, because they don't have the money to burn.
Yeah. And then it's not a profitable venture for Sony.
Yeah. So then it definitely is smarter to just take the hit of Steam, throw your games on there, which is the same scenario that Frank Cifaldi quote, because I'm sure Sony isn't happy with the 70-30 cut, but that 70 is really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe they aren't, they would like more of that 30.
Well,
they're not making $6 billion, they're making $1 billion.
Right. But essentially it's a game that they already made. They just have to
that's the other thing.
Yeah, they just have to not a developer, but porting a game to PC when you already make it on PC. I know that's not the right equation, but it definitely doesn't take as much as a full-on remaster.
Sure.
So you can reap more rewards.
Isn't there... Okay, this may be 1,000% wrong, but isn't it easier to port from a console to PC than from a console to like a Switch or something?
I hear that ports to Switch are weird because they use Unity, I think, and Unity is kind of difficult.
I think
that's what I heard.
I think that has to be correct because we've had so many stories about weird ports with Switch.
Right.
Yeah.
But also, think about Nier Automata was one. I know there was another major release that Batman Arkham Knight. Terrible PC ports.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. That's what started the Steam refund thing.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Exactly. And then I know there was a couple others recently. But
I know you're right because sometimes it's like the PC because they don't expect the PC market to be as big, so they sort of skimp on the PC port.
Half-ass it.
Yeah. So that was 1,000% wrong. You are correct.
Let the fans handle it with their mods. Then they make some pretty cool games out of it. So. Next one's a short one, but Square Enix Montreal has now rebranded. Of course, Square Enix Montreal was one of the studios sold by Square Enix earlier this year to Embracer Group. Yeah. Out of the ashes comes Onoma is what the new studio is called. So that is what Square Enix Montreal used to be. They are now called Onoma, and we'll see what they will do because I think they just do mobile stuff.
Really?
When I was reading the article, it was like, they mostly focus on mobile stuff, and I was like, I thought they did more than that, but.
Who does?
Eidos Montreal was Deus Ex.
That's what you caught my question before I even asked it. Mm-hmm. You sly dog. All right, what's next?
Last one. Today is the anniversary of one of the worst Nintendo games ever made. Well, not Nintendo, but having to do with Nintendo. Anyways, today is the anniversary of the launch of the Wand of Gamelon and Faces of Evil, which were two Zelda games that now live in infamy as some of the worst games of all time. Released on the Philips CDI, it was conceived because of a licensing agreement between Nintendo and Philips. Nintendo was trying out disc-based software at the time, and Philips was like, yeah, you could put your games on, our system, but we're going to make the games. And Nintendo said yes. And I'm sure you've seen the memes from it, like very terribly drawn, like Zelda.
I think so.
Yeah, that's Wand of Gamelon, Faces of Evil. Probably one of the many reasons why Nintendo now keeps their properties so close to their chest.
That and the Mario movie.
Yeah, those
I've definitely seen that.
Those were the two big blows that from then on they were like, no one touches our stuff. So
that scarred them for life. And they've been bitter ever since.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
That's it.
Real quick, did you guys see the trailer for the Mario movie?
Yeah, of course
I did. Yeah,
Bowser looks amazing.
Yeah, he does.
Bowser does. Yeah. Do we have any?
He unfortunately looks amazing.
Do we have any?
I give the internet another week before.
No, it was that hour, my man.
Well, no, before it infects the internet entirely and wholly.
Do we have any opinions on Chris? Chris.
That guy.
That guy.
Star-Lord. The one line in the trailer seemed phoned in.
Damn, that was.
So hopefully it was just a bad take for the trailer, and the actual movie is better. But
yeah, the first line was like, fuck, he's just Chris Pratt. But the second line had Brooklyn accent in it, or it had New York accent in it, and then it was just like, okay, maybe we'll see. Give me another trailer. However, Keegan-Michael Key as Toad was really good.
Phenomenal.
Is that who that was?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I was like, okay, cool.
And Jack Black as Bowser.
Jack Black as Bowser.
It was recognizable as Jack Black,
when he
but
screamed.
not. It wasn't Jack Black being Jack Black. He was actually doing a character, not Po, Kung Fu Panda, that stuff. He's actually
that would be great.
I'm totally stoked. I feel like I'm the only one stoked for Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong.
I can't fucking wait.
He's gonna be so good as Donkey Kong.
Stoner Donkey Kong? Hell
dude.
yeah.
Yes.
I don't know. For me, as an Always Sunny fan, Charlie Day is Luigi.
I think that's perfect too.
Which Charlie from It's Always Sunny is just Luigi.
I would agree with
Do
that.
you think so?
Yeah.
Not actually, but actually.
But if you're gonna assign characters to It's Always Sunny, Charlie's Luigi.
You know what would be amazing is if you took episodes of Always Sunny and then you just made each character like obviously Dee would be Princess Peach. I don't know who would Frank be. Frank could be Bowser maybe. Toad. They had to pick the ugliest.
Think about it would be Toad or Wario.
Yeah, Wario.
Wario's a good one. Yeah, I don't know.
Trash man.
Oh my god.
I don't know who Dennis and Mac would be, but yeah, I think Charlie would probably be Luigi. Dennis and Mac would both be Mario, and they'd be arguing who's the more
Mario.
Who's the more Mario? Yeah,
Mario, and then Mario with the fire flower. Different color.
Golden God.
Follow us on Twitter, Facebook at The Gaming Discourse. Go to our YouTube channel, YouTube/Gaming Discourse, Patreon.com/The Gaming Discourse. Check out the Bone Lab review, and we will see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.